Hi, I'm Renee Iverson, and I'm a professional learning specialist with the Northwest Regional ESD. I'm going to be joined by my colleague, Jen Johnson. You'll see our pictures on the screen here. And we wanted to share with you the social, emotional, and mental health supports that we are putting together for our districts for next year. I wanted to start with a quote from the National Association of School Psychologists. School mental health supports that encompass social and emotional learning, mental wellness, resilience, and positive connections between students and adults are essential to creating a school culture in which students feel safe and empowered, and the quote goes on. So we wanted to talk with you about the supports and professional learning opportunities that we're putting together for next year as we're thinking about that quote. Jen is our school safety and prevention specialist, and in this pyramid, this is how we're thinking about the supports we're putting together for next year. From the universal supports at the bottom of the pyramid all the way up to very specific supports at the top of the pyramid. The rest of this slideshow will be primarily focused on the universal supports and the professional learning opportunities, but we're organizing some quarterly collaborations for professionals in your district that are supporting students around social, emotional, and mental health. We're going to be hosting a summit. And then there are some very specific supports that are things like suicide prevention training, attendance services, etc. And Jen is our school safety and prevention specialist. So some of the very specific supports will be things that you are connecting with her about, but we wanted to show that as part of the pyramid as well. So let's focus in specifically on the professional learning supports. This strand of the professional learning team has evolved over the last 4 years. And now in the last 2 years, the broad school culture and climate work that we've been doing, we want to narrow back in on some specific content areas that connect with the priorities, many of the priorities that your districts have written into their SIA plans. And those 3 areas are social and emotional learning, trauma-informed practices, and restorative discipline practices. So whether your districts are returning to this strand from past participation in the School Culture and Climate Network, or you'll be new to this work and joining us for the first time, we wanted to create multiple pathways for your schools and districts to access these professional learning supports. We'll be having team-based and individual-based as the pathways. On the team-based side, you'll see that we have options for school teams or district-level teams, depending on the work that your district is wanting to do. Those will be grounded in equity. We're going to be using tools from improvement science to really focus on systems change. And then we'll have synchronous and asynchronous options, all with coaching support from us. In the synchronous teams, those will be similar if you've participated in School Culture and Climate Network in the past. Those will be similar to that, where we'll have network meetings, we're coming together. Next year, we're doing our trainings virtually. So you'll be coming together virtually, and we'll have breakout rooms and opportunities for you to learn together and work with your teams. And then we'll also have asynchronous opportunities. We wanted to create something so that if your school team isn't able to participate in the network meetings, but you do still have a team that wants to work together around any of those content areas, the asynchronous team, we're going to create some modules in Canvas that your school teams can go through the modules, but also have connection with us as coaches as you're going through that together. So 2 different options on the team-based side, and then we'll have an individual option as well. We're creating some courses that are specific to those content areas I mentioned in the last slide, and individual educators from your district, and we use educator to encompass the wide range of people that provide support to students in districts, where individuals can sign up for those courses and participate, and that'll be hosted and facilitated by us, discussion questions in Canvas, modules for learning, things like that. So more details on that to come as next school year gets closer, but we want to spend some time talking about how your districts might participate in those. So we just mentioned the school teams, what that looks like in terms of the synchronous events and the asynchronous events as well, and then the individual. But in thinking about your school and your district, you might have multiple pathways to access that. For example, if you have one school team that's focused on one of those content strands, you may also have some individual educators that want to sign up for the individual courses in that same content strand, where there's, you know, more information and content that they can bring back to your synchronous team. That's one example. You might have an asynchronous team in the same regard. You might have an asynchronous team who's doing that work, and you want a few educators from that asynchronous team to sign up and participate in the individual courses as well, and access that in a variety of ways from team and individual side. So now let's think about, in the work that you're doing in your district, just wanted to share a couple of scenarios and think about where those might go on the different content areas that we're talking about. So social and emotional learning, and you see these are some of the topics that we'll be covering. Same thing with trauma-informed practices and restorative discipline practices. In thinking about the work that you're doing in your districts, we are partnering with Trauma-Informed Oregon on the trauma-informed practices, and we're partnering with REAP on the restorative discipline practices. We're very excited for the partners that we're working with for next year. So let's think about a few different ways that you might access. For example, maybe you have an established school team who is wanting to focus on aligning social and emotional learning across the school. So you might either, if you already have an established team, or even if you had a new team that wanted to do that work, school or district based, then you might sign up here, and that could be a synchronous or an asynchronous team focused on SEL. Another example, and again, these are just a few examples. I'm sure there are many different ways. And we're more than happy if you want to have a brainstorming session with us about where the work that your district is doing and where you see that they might access this. Please reach out to us. We're more than happy to do that. So you might have in your district, you might have been doing trauma-informed work, but maybe you have new staff that have joined and don't have as much experience in trauma-informed practices, or if you have staff that want to refresh their knowledge on trauma-informed practices, they might be interested in signing up under the trauma-informed practices, but the individual strand, where they can go through those courses and modules. Or perhaps you have one of your schools who wants to focus on restorative discipline practices. That could be a multitude of pathways. You might want your team to participate synchronously or asynchronously, and you might also want to partner that with some of the individual course signups like we had mentioned before. So that would be under restorative discipline practices with any of those opportunities. So hopefully that gives you an overview of what we're putting together for next year. We're very excited to continue collaborating and partnering with you all in our districts. Our contact information is on here. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And again, if you want to just brainstorm and think about, you know, what might be the best for our district next year, please reach out. We would love to have that conversation with you and see what works. We're trying some new things for next year. So in the spirit of continuous improvement, we'll continue growing and adapting as we need to. So we look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much.